Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Empathy at Scale. And today we have Sean with us, who is the founder and CEO of LifeCouple. And he's going to be talking about some of campaigns that they're running around COVID-19. A fun fact about LifeCouple is that they help couples deal with their relationship issues. And it's the relationship equivalent of a credit score, if you will. I would not want to steal your limelight, Sean. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what Life Couple does?
Sure, I appreciate it. So Life Couple is about empowerment, whether it's an empowerment with yourself or an empowerment with your partner. And in the sense of partner, it could be that you're in a marriage or you're in a civil union or you're in any kind of relationship. And in relationships, they all start off in a positive way, no different than a lot of times with a job. And then all of a sudden, a lot of situations arise. Example would be complacency or certain traits that you all of a sudden now are starting to bring out that maybe were not early on the relationship when you first met. And what Life Couple does is when one partner is feeling like the relationship is starting to become a little bit less satisfying or that decay is setting in, what Life Couple does is it acts upon almost like a Fitbit to your heart. So we all know that we monitor different things in our lives. You mentioned, for example, your credit score. We monitor our blood pressure, our bank account. We monitor all different key attributes that we find important. What Life Couple does is it monitors 4 key areas: trust, communication, conflict, intimacy, and then using machine learning and AI, it integrates into your overall relationship health score. And with that, and with 2 partners that are now synced in the platform, Life Couple can offer content, tools, activities, and ways for you using gamification to start moving those scores in a positive direction. And so you're 100% spot on when you talk about, yes, it is like a FICO score, but it's more giving you what you are looking for to be a better partner or a better spouse, and you constantly exploring and then seeing what is moving your indexes or what is moving your partner's indexes. So it's more of a metric-driven approach than a traditional, I call it glorified Kindle, read and then just see how it goes.
Wonderful. So interesting that you bring all of that up, and especially with the current times, couples are stuck in close quarters. A lot of countries are on lockdown, and which is basically putting a lot of relationships under stress, right? So, and it's causing challenges for couples everywhere. I mean, what, according to you, is the biggest challenge? You're a #1 rated marriage and family app. What is your biggest challenge when you are helping couples weather the storm?
So most couples or most individuals, they've already been pre-programmed in their mind. Their neurotransmitters have been programmed at an early age. They've learned different ways to address whether it's conflict or they're perceived when it comes to intimacy, or their communication is already almost embedded. Consider it almost like a computer chip, and there's some hard-coded code in that chip. So with COVID-19, you've taken 2 couples and now you've put them into a situation where they are now having to deal with things on a daily basis versus they don't have an out. An out would be where I go to work or you go to work or I get to go to the gym or you get to go. We're now in a situation where we're literally on top of each other, where we're having to deal with certain things that what I just mentioned, your neurotransmitters are triggered. So you might do something that might not be exactly what you technically have done, but it is bringing up something that you in fact experienced in your childhood. So in fact, if your parents actually acted a certain way, your partner might have done something that triggered something that you did not like the way your dad or your mom or somebody actually engaged, and it's now bringing up emotions, and those emotions are coming from the past. So COVID-19 has in fact started to make us see things, but see things in a way that are a lot closer than we're used to. The thing that LifeCouple can offer, and what we've proposed from day one, is it's a process. And the process is that each day you're going to start working on breaking down those habits and start to reprogram that hard-coded chip that we talked about, and start getting some skills or learning some things that you might have never actually had access to, or that you might have never thought that by doing something this way can get the following result. And so what we found is that couples that are now in this, call it pressure cooker, or couples that are now starting to realize that, wait a minute, I'm now home with my partner, I'm home with my child, I'm now talking to my mom and dad. The value of wealth is now in my relationship. Before, we were kind of almost had a pair of contact lenses that were cloudy, and the value was on how we can move up in the corporate ladder, or how we can make more money, or how we can basically offer our parents small gifts or gestures when we come visit. So the value of wealth now is in your own inner personal empowerment. And so LifeCouple is starting to see that more and more people are realizing that at the end of the day, COVID-19 has caused us financial just devastation, or in some cases, it's caused us to rethink the way we need to look at our lives. What LifeCouple is now offering is almost like a set of glasses saying, here, what works for you? Why does it work? And how can we go back and take that hard-coded chip that's in your brain, and how do we basically do something that I think is real important? And I believe it came from Mother Teresa, so don't quote me here because this is Mother Teresa. The hardest distance that people have to deal with in the journey in their life is, I believe, the 16 inches from your brain to your heart. And so if we can, in fact, start getting people on that journey from their brain to their heart, and getting them to start to reprogram and almost giving them a GPS on how to basically get to their heart, LifeCouple believes that the world's going to be a better place, and people are going to start making decisions, and decisions that are coming from a good place instead of a place that I think a lot of us are now realizing is not as important in our lives.
Makes a lot of sense. And since you're talking about awareness in people as well, I believe you're seeing a lot of surge in app downloads and interaction with users. How are you? Has that changed a little bit? How you make your users feel welcome, and is there any sort of positive message that you're sending to your users in this current era?
So with what has happened, we've really had to utilize technology and companies that can offer us a way that we can scale, and how we can stay on a personal one-on-one. A user coming into our platform is looking for some kind of empathy or looking for connection. And you cannot scale, or you cannot give somebody connection on a mass level without using technology. And so what we found is that people are coming in, they're coming in more, and they're coming in with a little bit more higher level challenges, because there's uncertainty in their job, there's uncertainty in where things are going to come from regarding their next paycheck. And what we've found is that the first thing that we need to really focus on is letting them know that we're all human. Whether we're in Australia or India, or we're in Mexico, we're all human, and we're all faced with this challenge. The degree of what we're faced is different. So the biggest challenge that LifeCouple has is, how do we connect to you, and how do we connect to you where we don't become almost like a bot, or become something where we're losing that personal one-on-one connection. And the way that we're doing that and achieving that is by using third-party, or call it companies, that have this communication two-way, where we can start to really, really drill down. And when someone comes on, we actually know what challenges they're facing, and we can serve them up content that will actually work and give them some kind of remedy. Because in today's day and age, everyone is interested in some kind of quick fix or some quick results. And so what we found now is that we'd have to scale faster than we liked, because the fact that, in fact, people are, guess what? They're looking for answers, and they're looking for answers quick. So our biggest challenge would be that we knew that this technology, or we knew that telehealth, we knew that this was coming. We now realize that it's coming, and it's accelerated because of COVID-19. And it's a good thing, that we actually were in the forefront at the start, because we've built a platform that we can actually scale and do just that.
Wonderful. So you mentioned that you're using messages, building a connection with your users. Now, in terms of building a connection with your users, are you seeing a change in the rules of engagement given the current crisis? Do you feel like the playbook has gone out of the window, or have you had to sort of adapt the way you've built that connections?
We've had to adapt. I think it's always been there. It's just now come in a different, almost like different intervals. Think about it as an ocean. And some days the ocean, it might be a little bit calmer, and someday the ocean has a swell. What I think COVID-19 is doing is it's evoking people's emotions, or getting people to a place where they realize that maybe things are not working, or things need to be addressed. And they are, some of them, looking to push it under the rug because, of course, they've got bigger problems like, when is their next paycheck going to come? And others are, wait a minute, not only am I worried about my paycheck, but I'm also worried about the fact that I can't cope with the kids at home, or I can't cope with the fact that, I'm really getting under my partner's nerves, and my partner's getting under my nerves. So we've started to see more and more people that are, in fact, willing to address their relationship challenges. The one thing that I will say that is a little bit tougher is that people in COVID-19 times are literally consumed with so much social. There's so much screen time that they're getting, that at times it's beneficial for a product like ours because they're willing to jump on it. But they're also in a situation where they're being marketed to, or there's so many other things that they're watching. So, the Netflix, and people that are binge watching on Netflix, or the other avenues that are out there, right? We are, in fact, competing with them, because a lot of times people are saying, wait a minute, I want to work on my relationship. And then the next day, like, wait a minute, I want to watch, the following series, because I've never watched the following series. So people are just constantly being bombarded with ways to kind of take up their time. And what we found is that when we get them on the platform, we have to give them a small win, or we have to give them a way where it's sticky and they want to come back. And that's the importance of the messaging that we talked about. When we send you a push, we want it to be informative. When we send you an email, we want it to be where we connect. If we actually send you a text message and get you to watch a video, it needs to be something that is of entertainment value or some value, because if not, the value that people are also kind of focusing on is binge watching TV, or, shopping, or looking at things, because they've got time on their hands. So we're kind of competing in a way, but in a way we've got people's attention, because we've literally got a lot of people that are on alert regarding their relationship and the challenges that has occurred.
So speaking of getting people's attention and video, I've also noticed that you've added vlogs and other ways that therapists can connect with couples who need advice. What's been the user reaction and response to this assistance in the current times?
So the whole therapy industry has been, I want to call it, accelerated with telehealth. A lot of the older school therapists were anti-technology, and they believed that the only way to have a connection with, call it, their clients or people that come in to seek their therapy skills is a one-on-one. And what they're learning, or they're now realizing, is that people, even though they like to come in, it could be just as effective as myself and you on the Zoom call. And it's effective because in today's day and age, when we're so busy with two incomes, it's very tough to basically get in the car or take time off of work and get a babysitter and get to a therapist and start working on things. Plus, a lot of people don't want the stigma of anybody knowing when they walk into that office that they're actually seeing a therapist with their partner. So what we found is that with what you've just mentioned, okay, people are now more, wait a minute, I'm willing to basically talk to this therapist because guess what? I don't have to leave my living room, or I can use my phone. And the therapists are now realizing, wait a minute, this is a lot more effective. I can probably see 4 or 5 clients in literally my downstairs kitchen, and I could basically give just as much insight without having them to come into my, call it, studio or my office. What we found, which is really, really interesting, is that people now, because technology is becoming a little bit more adapting with these therapists, are willing to now quickly explore talking to a therapist real quick. So the way I give the assessment of what we're doing and how we've built this and where it's going is, Steve Jobs saw that people didn't want to buy an album. They didn't want to buy 12 songs. They wanted to buy 2 songs. But the record industry said, no, you got to buy 12. And so the hardest thing that he had was how do I get all of the different record labels to put all their music onto one platform? Right. And the record labels were like, no, we don't want to give you control. So it's the same thing with the therapist. The therapists are kind of like the record label in a way. But what we've done is said, wait a minute, we can give you an endless amount of people that might be interested in coming in and dealing with specific issues. An issue, for example, that I'm having with my partner because of my in-law, and the fact that my husband or my partner needs to basically do the following, and I feel like they're not doing the following for my, call it, family. So it could be more of a specialized way of dealing with issues. And that specialized way could be something that you can have 1 or 2 sessions, address the challenge, and then you can move on. Versus traditional therapy, it's almost like an endless, where does it end? And not only where does it end, how do we measure it? And so what we've taught the therapist is that we are not, in fact, call it competition, we're a complement. And so the therapists now are looking for ways to bring revenue back, because a lot of them, unfortunately, don't have the clients that are driving and seeing them. So with the platform, what we're able to do is we're able to identify couples or couples that are willing to do something that's a little bit outside of the platform, give them a, call it, lead, or give it to a therapist. And the therapist now is able to work on them on what we just said, on a one-on-one basis, or on small little kind of micro-targeting challenges that they have in their lives. And once people start to work on those micro challenges, the stigma that a lot of us have that therapy is, I want to call it, drawn out, they're like, wait a minute, this is actually making me feel good. So what we found is that COVID-19 is now making people aware that they cannot go at this alone, and they need some kind of support. And because everybody in the COVID-19 global community is saying, wait a minute, mental health is going to be pushed to the limit, people are now not as scared to say, well, wait a minute, I'm going to raise my hand, and you know what? We've got some challenges, and I think we need to talk to somebody. So it's opened up, or created that stigma of admitting or working on a challenge, and I call it a growth area. It is, in fact, starting to break down that door, and the younger generations that are very tech savvy, that grew up with a phone or grew up with tech to solve problems, are now flocking to products like LifeCouple. And therapists now are starting to realize that they need to start to get into the new tech world. The analogy that I'll leave you and everyone with is the technology in the therapy world has been like Blockbuster Video. Therapists have been like Blockbuster. They've never realized that a Netflix was coming around, because they believed that everybody wanted to go to a video store and take a VHS tape and buy it, or a CD and buy it and put it into their CD player. What we are is Netflix. And the technology and the bandwidth of using third-party platforms with messaging and stuff is now making it available for the consumer to stream what they're looking for, or to watch something. And we can, using AI and machine learning, we know exactly where their challenges are at in a obviously confidential way. We can, in fact, give them the content that they're looking for to, in fact, work on their challenge.
That's actually a great analogy. And if I were to sort of simplify this, would it be accurate for me to say that on one hand, you're helping the consumers sort of avoid the stigma associated with getting relationship counseling, providing them with easy access, and on the other, you have the counselors or service providers who are probably finding it easier to find clientele. Would that be an accurate assumption? Is that the challenge?
Absolutely, because when you think about it, in the early age of the internet, the dating scene was never you would go onto a internet site and meet your partner. It was you would go out to a bar or you'd get out a dinner or introduction. So that has changed. When you think about where we're at right now, you've got all of these therapists. Therapy in some eyes is not effective. To be fair to a therapist, it might not be effective because a lot of couples go to it when the marriage is in a crisis mode. No different than if you went to a dentist and you didn't brush your teeth and floss, you would unfortunately have a root canal, or the dentist would have to work on your teeth in a non-joyful way. So therapists are a lot of times dealing with couples in a situation where it is in fact a little bit far gone. Someone's foot is out the door. What LifeCouple is doing, or what therapists are now realizing, is that if LifeCouple becomes more gamified, as we are working towards, couples are more interested in doing fun little things to keep their marriage in a healthy environment. Therapists are now realizing that when they're working with couples, or couples that are using the LifeCouple platform, they're working with a couple that is in fact not in a state where they're going to have to potentially pull some teeth out or do a root canal, but rather they can give them some fun little wins or fun little things and start to work on things where it could be more efficient in their technique that they're utilizing. So therapists are now opening their eyes and saying, wait a minute, this is actually going to change the way people are looking at therapy. And they're starting to now become more interested in partnering with us, or offering us, as you just said at the early stage of this conversation, vlogs. So if a therapist is looking to offer a vlog based upon a situation, LifeCouple can serve that vlog up to a captive couple or a captive audience. And that therapist is able to now get their message across and also build their brand. So a therapist now can have a brand where, oh, I will listen to this therapist on LifeCouple, and that brand could start to build them into writing books, or outside of LifeCouple starting to create all kinds of seminars, or something that is in fact building their business or their practice, where traditionally therapists have not been very good marketers. So the beautiful thing about what you just said is that technology is benefiting everybody. It's benefiting the therapist, it's benefiting the couples, and it's benefiting, I want to call it, mankind.
Interesting. And I have to point out, I love the references you use, especially for someone like me, to makes it very easy for me to kind of understand. So what I do gather is that it's actually helping a lot of these therapists with discovery. So it's almost like a discovery platform for therapists. And on the other side of things, it's democratizing some of the therapy that couples seek in a relationship.
Very insightful on your part. So traditionally in therapy, or traditionally on what has been the barrier of entry to therapy, you have a couple, and in a situation in a heterosexual or in an LGBTQ relationship, LifeCouple is either or, doesn't matter. You have one partner that's willing to come to the dance floor, and the couple believes that the dance needs to be the tango, and the tango needs two people. So a lot of times what happens is if in fact the partner A gets partner B to seek therapy or to work with them in therapy, it's normally in a forceful way, or it's normally in a way where one of the partners is already out the door, or the other partner is being dragged in. And so right off the bat, it's in a situation where maybe the, I want to call it, dynamics are not optimal. With the current situation that we're currently in right now, which is COVID-19, obviously it's escalated that. It's escalated people's friction, because now we're on top of each other. But when you talk about now going to therapy, or you talk about now getting on that teleconference, the first session is normally the most painful, especially from one of the partners' point of view, because it's almost like the laundry needs to come out. And it's almost what I call courtrooming. Partner A is trying to get the therapist to see it their side. Partner B is trying to get the therapist to see it their side. and the therapist is actually the attorney. And so what happens is they're both trying to basically get the therapist to change each other, change partner A, change partner B. What LifeCouple does is that it's a diagnostic tool. I call it an MRI, marital relationship index. So because we can keep track of your intimacy, trust, communication, conflict, and overall relationship, a therapist can actually, day one, session one, actually see what areas you have as far as growth goes and kind of say, look, let's come up with a solution. And the solution is that you both are having intimacy challenges. You're not alone. Intimacy is a big problem. It basically is a proven fact that after the first kid in most relationships, intimacy starts to go down. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up with ways to see what works. The fact that there's some measurability or accountability, what we talked about with messaging, a therapist can now work with a couple, give them skills, give them a way that it is, in fact, imported into their phone so that they both have that exercise or that video or that, call it, tool. And when they come back via telehealth, the next session, the therapist can see how the index moved. Did it move the index? Why did it move the index? What's working? So it's more of a treatment plan, or if it's more of a data-driven versus a assumption-driven. Assumption-driven meaning, I think this will work. Data is king. We all know how machine learning and AI have now come into the forefront. What LifeCouple does with a therapist and with people that don't want to seek a therapist, it could start giving you ways that you can, in fact, move the index. And the index that you're moving is key to the happiness of that area or satisfaction in your life. So it's actually data-driven that is connected to a result-driven exercise that you are, in fact, motivated to do because it's actually fun. It's actually a fun way to address your challenges.
Really exciting stuff. So what's next for LifeCouple? What do you have in?
So what's next is we are now starting to move into what I call in an empowerment mode. We mentioned earlier that it takes two to tango. Well, sometimes in a situation where one partner is not willing to emotionally grow, or that partner is not willing to meet the other partner halfway, or that partner is in a state where they want to basically deflect and blame everything on the other partner, you've got one dance partner that is never going to come to the tango, but you have one partner that's dying to dance, and the hurt that that partner that's trying to dance is causing issues in their job. It's causing issues in their health. In the US alone, $14 billion is lost per year by employees that are either getting a divorce or that are unproductive because they're in a relationship that is causing them to basically not focus in on their job. So what LifeCouple has now identified is that if you are going in solo mode, or you're going into a mode where maybe you need to work on you, be a better you, love yourself, start to understand that your partner, though you want them to come on this journey, they might not be as evolved as you. So using what we talked about earlier, the platform will intelligently start to offer you ways to become a better you and give you the skills to deal with, in fact, if you have a partner that you have high conflict. Maybe you can understand that it's not you, it's them. And we talked about that, call it journey from your head to your heart. Maybe you start to get more empathy and you start to realize that it's their upbringing, that they were brought up this way and that's how they address things. And you have to feel sorry that that's a sad way to basically address somebody that loves you in a way that's causing a negative result. So what LifeCouple is starting to do is we're starting to, because we see more and more people that want to go into a self-empowerment mode, we're starting to basically add that feature that we can intelligently move the content to give you that self-empowerment. The other thing that I'm pretty excited about, which we kind of talked about, is we've found that in certain cultures, there are no way that that person could ever get help. It is a taboo to even talk about a relationship that might be going bad. It's a taboo to go see a therapist. It's a taboo to basically even let their partner know that things are not going the way they planned. So in those countries, and we talked about earlier India and some other countries, we are starting to see that there is a massive, massive amount of people that are looking for some form of information or some form of content that can in fact steer them in a direction to give them a sense of inner peace. And so what we're now looking to do is tap into those areas where there's no outside resources and start to build a content library that can address whether it's a cultural issue or whether it's an issue regarding certain things that might not be applicable in the United States or in other countries. We're starting to offer more content that are in areas that we never even thought would, even in the wildest dreams that we've had day one, be gravitating towards this content. So we are looking to basically expand. We're not looking to keep our eye off of the US, but we are looking to basically expand in our global business model, because at the end of the day, we are all people, no matter what country, no matter what language, we all have the same challenges. And I strongly believe COVID-19 has woken us up to this. It has woken us up to the fact that we as human beings need to, in fact, rethink our wealth. And our wealth is in ourselves, it's in our relationship, it's in our children, it's in our parents, and it's in our friends, and it's in our colleagues. And so what LifeCouple is now doing is it's rethinking the thought process of how people can in fact measure their wealth, and their wealth is all in their self-empowerment and in their inner peace.
It's exciting times ahead for LifeCouple. I'd love to see them coming into India, and I can totally see it doing really well in this country. Thank you so much, Sean, for your time. Loved your insights, and all the best to LifeCouple and you and the rest of the team.
I appreciate it, and I can't wait to take you up, and I'll be literally on that first plane to India when this plane and this whole travel concerns are gone. I would love to come out and meet yourself and everyone face to face.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much.
Take care.